How La Belle Otero got what she wanted. Men gave up everything they had and even their lives to be with her. What did Caroline Otero have going for her? During the Belle Epoque, she was the most sought-after woman. When they couldn't have her, 6 men took their own lives. Several people gave up everything for her. One story says that the cupolas of the Carlton Hotel in Cannes were made to look like her breasts. The twin domes were named Les Boîtes à lait, milk bottles, after her. What was the secret of La Belle Otero? First seduction secret: real beauty keeps moving. A grainy film clip from 1898 of Caroline Otero is a hint. Otero is dancing with joy in the streets of St. Petersburg. Her white skirts fly up, letting a black stocking leg peek out from under them. She waves her hat in circles as if she were a real-life Toulouse-Lautrec painting. She is the best. We often forget this lesson in our swipe-left society. There are so many pictures with filters on dating apps today that our grandkids might think we don't have pores. Even though catfishing is a common fear among single people, a 2D picture can't show what makes someone special. We've all had the strange experience of being attracted to someone who doesn't seem to be pretty. People are often more beautiful in real life than in pictures because their flaws add to their beauty. Wabi-sabi is the Japanese word for the art of seeing beauty in flaws. Marcel Proust told us, "Leave beautiful women to men with no imagination." And experts today think that the frozen face effect, FFE, makes pictures of people less attractive than videos. Simply put, our brains are designed to be pulled to bodies in motion. Otero always went somewhere. When you look at pictures of Otero, you have to wonder how much absinthe people were drinking. She doesn't stand out. A Byzantine-shaped face has dark eyes, a big Romanesque nose, and a gapped-toothed smile. And in a time when the Kardashians are all curvy, her small, perky breast probably wouldn't get people's attention today. But a picture cannot catch someone's jus d'esprit. And Otero had a lot of guts. Many men tried and failed to break that spirit. Caroline Otero was born in 1868 near Valladolid, Spain. Her family called her Nina, which means little girl. At age 11, a tailor took her away and raped her until she broke her spine. Without a doubt, the experience changed how she felt about guys. Her mother sent her to a private school, but she didn't pay the fees. She was always a rebellious child. To pay for her room and board, Otero had to work as a scullery maid. As her anger grew, she found a way to let it out by dancing. When it got dark, the 12-year-old sneaked out of school to go dancing at a nearby cafe. That's when she met Paco, who was also a dancer. Second seduction secret: every woman has a Paco. Stay away from him. When Otero was only 12, Paco became her boyfriend. After stealing her heart, he used Otero's money to get rich. But love doesn't always follow logic, especially when it comes to young people. Otero went to Lisbon with Paco. It didn't end well. In Lisbon, where Otero was looking for Paco, she met a theater director at the hotel where she was living. He asked Otero to sing at his theater after he heard her sing. The risk he took paid off. When Otero moved her hips back and forth to the music of flamenco guitars, flowers, and praise fell on her. Not long after, people fought to be her boyfriend. After seeing her act, a rich banker asked her to leave the theater and become his lover, which was a very rude thing to do. At first, Otero loved the way she was treated. But Otero wasn't meant to live in cages made of gold. She got bored quickly, so she left her rich banker and went to Barcelona to find Paco. Paco found her a good job at the Palais de Cristal. He also spent all her money on gambling every night. At some point, Otero understood that if she stayed with Paco, she would go broke. So, she left to go to Portugal with an opera group. Seduction lesson number 3: let desire inflame the appetite but never satisfy it. In October 1890, when Otero made her debut in New York, the newspapers said, "Otero dances with abandon." A year before, Otero was found in a nightclub in Paris by theater boss Ernest Jurgens. She wasn't very good at dancing, but when she did a fandango, she moved her hips and arms like she was opening the gates to hell. Men wanted to lose their souls because they were so angry. Jurgens had to go through a lot to learn this lesson. He started having a romance with his 21-year-old star and gave her expensive gifts. But as soon as he brought her to New York, he had rivals. William Vanderbilt, a rich man, wooed her with jewels and trips on his boat at night. Jurgens bid more than his rival to keep her. When he ran out of money, he stole it and was caught right away. Jurgens, who was broke and sad, killed himself by gassing himself while holding one of Otero's scented scarves. Why did this virago make a married man who seemed sane go crazy? You won't like the answer, most likely. Otero held men between wanting and getting. During her intense shows, it seemed like she had a sexual appetite that would never end. But when the curtain went up, she became cold and distant, like a flame that doesn't get enough air. Then she turned up the heat again, making every fan feel like he was her only source of air. It was a moment of intoxication, or what we now call playing hard to get. Many women play that game wrong. A real seductress does not make people want her by being inconsistent. That's just flaky and annoying. Instead, she plays with hope, making people want more but never giving them what they want. When you talk about Otero, spell sex with a capital letter. Maurice Chevalier. Lesson 4, even people who don't like you can make you look hot. By the time she was 21, Otero was a star at the famous Folies Bergère nightclub in Paris, and her risque dancing was known all over Europe. But while men flocked to her, women went crazy with jealousy. At one club, she was attacked by a foe. Otero threw a chair at her to get back at her. The two women got into a fight, and they had to be pulled apart. You can be sure that people talked after the fight. On her next trip to Spain, a man she had turned down shot at her. He didn't hit her, but he did kill her guard. During another show, a competing mistress shot at her from the stage. She, too, was wrong. But the people who didn't like her only brought more and more people to her show. An old saying says that bad publicity is still publicity. Today, bad press can get someone fired, but Otero kept the press under control by acting like scandals didn't bother him. Seduction lesson number 5, you should always be able to leave but want to stay. Grand Duke Peter Nikolaevich, who was the grandson of Tsar Nicholas I, was one of Otero's most well-known loves. He was so in love with her that he sent her a note with 1,000,000 rubles in it. It said, "Ruin me, but don't leave me." Otero couldn't keep his word. The Grand Duke tried to catch his wild animal one night by locking her in her hotel room without a coat. Otero did not panic when he jumped out the window and landed in the snow. Otero knew that some loves were only meant to last for a short time. We can respect Otero for living in a world where women didn't have many rights, but the way she got rid of men is a classic sign of selfishness. She made a lot of money by taking advantage of the sunk cost myth, which is when we keep investing in someone to protect our first investment. In this case, each of her admirers gave her small gifts to show how much they liked her. As time went on, they gave her more expensive gifts. In the end, they couldn't get out of their expensive purchase. As a result, they went broke and lost their faith. But wooing doesn't require leaving someone in ruins. A real enchantress leaves the wrong ones at the right time, in the right way, and for the right reasons. Seduction lesson number 6, timing is important in seduction. Colette, the French author of the 1944 story Gigi, was a friend of Otero's and known as a child prodigy. In one made-up story, Otero gave Colette advice on how to win a man's heart, and money. She thought to herself, every man will reach out to you at some point. Colette asked, but when is that? When you twist his wrist, Otero said. Other than giving stupid tips about how to get rich, Otero was not a wrist bender. She never tried to catch her suitors with strongman tricks. But she did know that time was very important. It's simple advice about love that people often forget today. There comes a time when a lover is either too invested to leave or not involved enough to stay. If you ask for too much in the last round, you will lose. Otero knew when she shouldn't play too much. There aren't many pretty women who can drink a lot without looking bad. Colette. Warning number 7, know when to leave the party. At the end of her work, Otero had the same amount of money, 25 million. She bought a big house and put blue silk fabric and paintings of young cherubs from the Renaissance in her bedroom. People wanted to see her walking through the Bois de Boulogne, covered in enough diamonds to fill a sultan's wealth box, while the press wrote about her every move. It was said that she was the wealthiest prostitute in Paris. Then she lost everything. A good seductress knows when it's time to leave the party. For Otero, the Monte Carlo poker tables were the party she couldn't leave. It was the one game with a lot at stake that she couldn't win. By 1941, she was living in a small hotel room in Nice and was very poor. On April 11, 1965, a chambermaid found the former star, who was 96 years old, dead in her hotel room. She had had a heart attack. One of Otero's neighbors said that in her last years, she was always talking about her past, and he stopped listening to her. There were always feasts, kings, and champagne. The feast must end at some point.